have been following Yu-Gi-Oh! For most of my life at this point. I have watched hundreds of episodes of anime. I have seen dozens of characters who you assume are in love with other characters, many of whom fall into waifu territory and husbando territory. I've seen people make the case for yaoi couples, yuri couples. They've been small children. They've been fully grown adults. They play card games with each other. They're just kind of there. All of it has amounted to the fact that the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Where two characters with some form of a legit history say I love you comes in the form of one 11-year-old boy to another, one who's dressed as frickin' Elvis playing Thunderbugs. What? What? This is almost as bad as when you realize the only card game anime protagonist we can confirm has had sex is Gao Mikado. This is what YGO Sevens is doing to me. This is what my life amounts to. This. Oh, God. Other than that, yeah, Roa was pretty great. Had a lot of great one-liners. The villain's fun. Thunderbugs are a fun deck. Kaizo is funny. The new ace is fine. Roa's actually kind of really fucking a horrible person. He's very cruel when you think about it. He's just basically constantly manipulated this guy and strung him along. Rather, the joke is this guy is actually gay for Roa, or if the idea is he simply respects him and Roa understands this and constantly tries to manipulate him. And then the minute the guy realizes what's going on here, Roa immediately goes to replace him, but when he thinks the cheaper option is just get him back, he tries it. And when that doesn't work, he's like, whatever. Like, Roa's a horrible person. But what I sort of respect about this show is that's actually kind of the point. Like, the thing is, with some of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Rivals, in particular ones like, say, Kaiba, and actually mostly Kaiba fits into this, they kept doing this weird thing where as the plot progresses, he becomes a worse person with flimsier and flimsier logic to why he is doing the dickish things he does. But the show constantly keeps expecting you to still sympathize and understand him when the minute you sit back and think about it, you're like, this guy's just a fucking psychotic douchebag. Yeah, I don't like Kaiba very much. I like him in Season 1 when there's a point to him, but Season 2 onwards, and I don't want to throw shade, I always felt like Season 2 onward Kaiba, they were sort of just knocking off Vegeta. Because essentially, Kaiba and Vegeta from Season 2 onward have very similar personalities and story arcs. Except at the end of Vegeta's arc, he simply accepts he'll never be as strong as Goku and learns to love and be happy with the family he has. Kaiba never does that, probably because by the time the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Is over, there were probably already plans to one day revisit him similar to what they did with Dark Sides of Dimension, in which case, by the time Dark Sides of Dimension hits, he's even worse and more obnoxious and dickish than he was in the original. But the problem is, again, they still kind of want you to like him and expect you to go along with all this crap. But I don't. If you've seen Mother's Basement, 20-minute, Yu-Gi-Oh! Dissection spoof parody thing, which is a video I go back and forth on if I actually like or not, he really puts a lot of emphasis that Kaiba is really what ruins the universal logic of Yu-Gi-Oh! And he's actually 100% correct. Whereas with Roa, because Roa is 11 and a kid, there's really nothing to ruin here. Everything is small stakes with him, so he's not having an entire organization spy on Yuga. Also, this one's a comedy, so the more goofier things kind of fit better than in a fairly straightforward shonen action romp like the original. But the big thing is that I never get the impression they want you to understand or like Roa. He is a dick, and that is the point. Even at the end of the episode, when he's sort of like, maybe I'll just take a dual disc drum set. Maybe that's to help the guy, but his whole sort of tone is, still weirdly, douchey. And I kind of respect the fuck out of that. They know Yu-Gi-Oh! Rivals are incredibly marketable. I'm noticing in the fandom since Roa's premiere, he seems to be becoming a very popular character with the Sevens cast, which is to be expected. So therefore, the thing to do, make him likable. But I really respect that we're continuing what we did with Revolver from the last one, and that is, the rival doesn't have to necessarily be a likable person. I never for 5 seconds believed in the last one Revolver was a good human being. And it's okay, because you really weren't supposed to think that. He just had moments, like with the brother, where he didn't want to be a complete monster. And that's kind of what you have here, except they adapt it to fit the setting and the circumstances and the character. I really wonder if Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens' fantastic character writing and the way they have things build upon them was put in one of the more serious Yu-Gi-Ohs, like Vrains. I wonder how that would have turned out. You can make the argument because this show is much more relaxed than the other Yu-Gi-Ohs, side maybe GX, that it's a lot easier to focus on character moments and character build-up because you don't have to work in all this lore and world building and all that. God knows when they tried, it was the weakest episode. So yeah, that's kind of it. There's not really a lot to say with this. This was a pretty straightforward rival episode. But and again, since Roa's character is, like I said, intentionally a dick, he doesn't really grow as a person, which is fine if that's what they're doing, and it feels like that is what they're doing, and they're aware of it this time. So yeah. Oh, and to all the Kaiba stans, I'm not saying Kaiba is a terrible character or the worst character. Okay, I actually think he's the worst of the 6 rivals, 7 rivals, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. So yeah, that's it. That was Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens this week. Like I said, the new monsters were cool, the duel was fun, there wasn't really anything else that happened, just kind of a next fight in the chain. So yeah, this is a shorter video for a change. My last few have been pretty long, so yeah, that's that. TCG question of the week. Here's a fun one. So I am obsessed right now with getting my hands on all 3 of the legendary dragon dice that came out in that Dragon's a Legend thing. The 3-pack, you know what I'm talking about. I only have 2 right now, and I've only opened 2 just because of when I've gotten a chance to buy packs, but I really want to get my hands on all 3. And so my question to you is this. If you could pick any set of Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters to get their own dice, because obviously, as we saw when you get them as YCS promos, they like handing out dice now. What would you want and why? My gut says they'll probably one day do 7 dice with all 7 protagonists printed on them, but honestly, and yeah, of course I'm going to suggest this, I want my masked heroes! Give it to me! Give me a Gaka dice, an Acid dice, a Diane dice, a Dark Law dice, a Divine Wind dice. Do it, Konami! So yeah, that's that. Yeah, tell me that below, your thoughts on this episode, and as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week. I'm still so dumbfounded about the 11-year-old love confession that I don't even remember what the preview for next week is.